Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get us started, and we'll let Mark join whenever he calls in. The Mississippi Charter School Authorizer regular monthly board meeting is being held in the Authorizer Board Office Building via Zoom meeting and teleconference in accordance with State Law Code Section 25-41-5. Notice of this meeting was posted prior to the meeting in accordance with state law. The audio recording of this meeting will be made available online, and the minutes of the meeting will be recorded. Moving to the announcement of the quorum, as I call your name, please state present and your location. Ms. Cook?
Present, Jackson, Mississippi.
Mr. Hinton?
Present, Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Ms. Whittier? Jennifer, are you there?
Yeah, I had to unmute. Present.
Oh, okay. Okay, and is anyone else on the call that I haven't called? I'm William Billingsley, and I'm in Carroll County, Mississippi. We have a quorum, and the regular monthly board meeting is now called to order. I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation. Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you please bow your heads with me. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us together again today to conduct the business of the children of Mississippi. Please hold a special place today for the family of former State Representative Ashley Henley as they mourn her loss. In Jesus' name we pray, amen. Okay, let's move on to the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the agenda? If so, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved. This is Jean.
Thank you, Jean. Second.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Motion passes. The agenda is adopted. We'll move to approval of the minutes of April 12th, 2021 regular monthly meeting. And is that, so I'm sorry, Lisa, is that correct? We still haven't approved the regular monthly meeting minutes for the April meeting?
That's correct. We need to approve the minutes from April and then the minutes from the legislative committee that met on June 7th.
Okay, let's do the first one first. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 12th, 2021 meeting?
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 The motion passes. The minutes are approved. We'll approval of the minutes of the June 7th, 2021 Legislative Committee meeting. Is there anyone on the meeting today that was present for that meeting on June 7th?
I was.
Okay, if you wouldn't mind making a motion for approval.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Those minutes for the Legislative Committee meeting on June 7th are hereby approved. We'll move to the chair report. I have nothing to report today. Let's move to Dr. Carmen Shire with the Executive Director report.
Okay, thank you. Let me get my report pulled up here. So, all right. First of all, welcome to everybody. It's good to see everybody again today. And I'm really, really looking forward to being able to see you guys in person sooner rather than later. I want to start today by just bringing your attention to the newsletter, two of which were in your board packet this time. You had May and June included in your packet. And in particular, I wanted to note the spotlight for June is on Midtown and their partnership with Teach for America. Teach for America will provide a summer program this summer that consists of enrichment, remediation, extracurricular activities, opportunities for teachers to gain experience, The good news is it's going to be free for all students. TFA is a national organization. I know most of you have heard of them. Along the lines of continued professional development and growth, we have 2 upcoming training events planned for our schools. The final training on using the Mississippi Financial Accounting Manual and FETS reporting will be held tomorrow. With respect to that training, I want to point out, and I want to make it perfectly clear, that when using the manual, schools are only required to use the chart of accounts and follow the coding system. So there is the consistency for reporting and comparisons when spending. And that was noted in the 2019 peer report because this was an extensive transition for operators. The MCSAB elected to remove that requirement from the contract for a portion of time to allow schools to transition to that requirement over the course of the year. And I am going to have to just find y'all. I have lost y'all completely. Let me find my Zoom. There I am. I don't know what happened, but I completely lost you. So let me go back to my report and catch back up with myself here. All right. There we are.
Lisa, Lisa, I don't know for everyone else, but I heard everything you were saying. You didn't, I think you may have lost us, but we could still hear you.
Okay, great. All right. So the second training then I want to talk about is the initial, let me go back to the first one for just a second. That training was really, really important. The Mississippi Financial Accounting Manual and FETS reporting that I was talking about just briefly. That was a 3 training series that we worked out with Donna Nestor, who was the former director of finance at the Department of Education. And schools that have attended that training have been repeatedly assured that the approach to and expectations in using the manual. Schools that have elected not to attend the training, and we've had some, they have access to the videos, they have access to the presentations through a shared Google Drive. And I want to encourage every one of those schools that have not attended to take advantage of those trainings and that have already been held, and then to be sure and attend tomorrow. The second training I want to refer to is the initial post-CSP grant award training for Revive Prep. That is coming up, and all CSP subgrantees will be invited to attend that to ensure that schools have a clear understanding of the federal uniform grant guidance as it relates to cost principles and use of funds. A portion of this training will build on the previous training that was provided by Central Access, that's Donna Nestor, that I referred to just briefly. And that's all around the cost guidance, allowability, allocability, reasonable, necessary, as it relates to spending federal dollars. So with our commitment to ongoing professional development, Jordan and I continue to attend a series of community conversations with NACSA. We will be attending the National Charter School Alliance Summer Virtual Training this month. And then she and I are traveling to Louisiana in July to meet with the Louisiana Charter School Association team. We've been in communication with them over a period of time, probably the last 6 months, but we're going to get to meet in person now, and we're looking forward to sharing strategies around best practices in recruiting in particular and supporting the charter community. And then following the financial report today, Sarah Rapay will bring forward the report on the 2021 call for quality schools, the board's obligations with respect to our mission on expanding access to high quality charters. She's going to talk about the completeness check findings and share with you details of the applicants that are moving into stage 2, which is the threshold quality review. And then we have a new series of trainings for potential applicants in the 2022 cycle, and that is being provided by our technical assistance provider, Professional Polish. That training is beginning with the application process and the eligibility to hold a charter. And as of now, we have 19 people who are interested, which is super exciting, 3 groups and 12 individuals. I think Mary may be on the call today, and I believe that that particular series of training starts either today or tomorrow. Then pre-opening training with SR1 continues, and it's been calendared out by topic this year so that we can ensure the priority topics are covered with the schools and that they get individualized support. So all of that training is ongoing. As we move closer to the end of our work on revising the framework, I do want to share the following as a reminder, especially for those board members who were not here in 2019 or in 2020. The reviews and recommendations for revisions to the framework actually began in 2019 with the renewal criteria and guidance report as it's related to the framework. And that was presented to the board in 2019 by Mississippi First. That report included both short and long-term goals, general thoughts, recommendations to each component of the framework. Then MCSAB partnered with WestEd, also a technical assistance provider, in 2020. And we worked on problems of practice. And one of those problems of practice that we addressed was an additional review of the performance framework that was conducted with the end goal in mind of holding our schools accountable by ensuring an alignment to, one, the contract in particular, and then articulating, in the statute of course, and then articulating clear expectations in the areas of academics, finance, and organizational effectiveness. General recommendations around clarity of language, the intervention protocol, and material terms were then provided by WestEd. And then NACSA conducted its authorizer evaluation, including interviews of stakeholders and staff of MCSAB in the spring of 2020. The evaluation included recommendations for improvements in the framework and the development of a robust framework that would include multiple metrics with clear and quantifiable targets for each measure. So with ongoing work, reviews from external experts, and continued opportunities for input from stakeholders, the final stage in this process again began with interviews of school leaders and willing stakeholders by the BASIS policy team. And as you all know, the Performance and Accountability Committee has been involved throughout this process, including the selection of BASIS, and they will continue to be engaged in providing feedback and recommendations. So what do our next steps look like then? First, BASIS will revise the framework based on the most recent round of stakeholder feedback and then make their recommendations to the board, or to staff actually, and then to the Performance and Accountability Committee. And the P&A Committee will meet to review the considerations of the draft version of the framework. The draft version and the intervention ladder will be presented then to the board during the July 12th meeting. And then from July the 12th through August the 31st, we'll have legal review and comment period. September the 13th, we'll hope to have final adoption, of course, pending board approval. Fall of 2021, staff will work with schools and conduct the trial run of the framework using what data is available. Then we'll tweak the framework as needed, and then full implementation of the new framework, hopefully in the fall of 2022. But finally today, I do want to remind the board of the 3 fundamental questions that we're trying to answer with the framework, noting that these questions come directly from the National Association of Charter School Authorizers Core Performance Framework. And that is, number 1, is the educational program a success? Number 2, is the school financially viable? And number 3, is the organization effective and is it well run? And in order for the board to answer those questions and then finalize our framework, we must continue to think deeply about which philosophy best aligns to our approach in authorizing. We talked about this just briefly last month, but we want to know, is it offering students and families quality or choice, or is it quality and choice? And then why is that important to us? Well, we talked about this too last month. Quality is defined differently by different people. And what matters in terms of quality to some may not matter to others. So in asking those three fundamental questions and revising the framework, we have to know collectively to us as an authorizer board what really matters. So in just over a month, you're going to be asked to vote on a draft version of the most important document that, along with the charter contract, holds schools accountable to high standards and protects not only the students, but the public's best interest. And before taking that vote, I want to ask each one of you to review those documents, review the measures, the metrics, and the recommendations, all of which have been shared. And I want to encourage you to reach out with questions or concerns so that when the final version is approved, that there is a high level of confidence among the board, the schools, and the stakeholders, so that we all can say we've done our due diligence in ensuring a transparent and fair process that has yielded a high quality framework of which we can be proud. And that ends my report.
Thank you, Dr. Carmichael. I appreciate your words to make sure that we do our jobs to read all the material. I realize that there's a lot of stuff that we've been sent and a lot of material to take a look at, but we really need to take the time to get as well caught up on this as we can. This is probably the most important thing we're going to do this year, as far as making sure that we have the best schools in Mississippi. So I encourage you to follow Dr. Carmichael's advice and dig deep into the information that we have before we make our vote in July.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, in September.
Yeah, I do want to say, I do really, really appreciate the Performance and Accountability Committee. They have been deeply engaged the entire time, and this has been an extensive process. It has lasted since 2019 when it really began. And we've had external experts taking a variety of looks at our framework. And in essence, we've come to the same point and place in time to say that, one, we needed it to be revised, and two, we needed a lot of clarity around what we were going to hold our schools accountable for, and two, with respect to the academics, the financial, and the organizational components on that framework. So it is a most important document, and it is one of the most important decisions that you'll make during July and then ultimately in September. So thank you for your commitment to reviewing those documents as BASIS has presented them and being a part of this work.
Thank you. Is that everything for your report? Okay, you said Sarah is going to present the next item on the agenda, the call for quality schools?
Actually, it's the financial report next.
Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped right over Denise. I'm sorry, Denise. The financial report is next.
It's quite all right. I can skip it totally if you'd like.
No, that's okay. This is important too.
Okay. Just wanted to let you know that the material that you've received shows all payments that were paid in April, May, and the first week of June. We're working really hard this week until the end of the month, trying to close out fiscal year 21, because that does end June 30th. And part of that process is to make sure that we're expending all of our general funds, because any general funds, which is your appropriation, that remain unspent, have to be returned to the state. So we'll make sure that there's nothing to return. There will be a large balance left in your special funds. I estimate that when the year is over, we will have only spent about 100,000 of the special funds during the year.
Denise, can I?
Yes.
There. I think it's important to note at this point in time that as we roll out of our CSP grant, the CSP grant has been a real gift to us in that we've been able to use it for technical assistance for our schools. And we won't have that CSP grant to access those dollars going forward because it was a 5-year grant and it will roll off over time. And there was a percentage, you could only spend 7% of your dollars on technical assistance. The rest, the 90% had to go to the schools and 3% to administration. And so it's really important that we build up a fund balance of sort for us to be able to operate and continue to provide quality trainings for our school, engage in the annual report work, all of the things outside of what the general fund will pay for us using those special funds. So it's just important to keep that in mind.
I was only mentioning how much of our beginning balance we had going forward, but that did not include the money we collected during the current year. So to piggyback off what Dr. Commentary said, at the end of this year, we'll have over $700,000 in our special fund to carry us forward. So when the CSP does end, that money is accumulating.
Good.
Okay. The federal expenses during the current year have been about $650,000. The majority of that, again, is for subgrants and technical assistance. And the technical assistance is for items that directly benefit the schools. Because we're at the end of the fiscal year, Dr. Commentary and I have worked hard to try to come up with a draft budget for next year that y'all will need to look at and probably approve before your next meeting. What we did is we drafted it in such a way that it shows the current budget for comparison. And then it shows what we think that the needs of the board will be in the next year. And this was in your packet. What we did do is say that we would like to replace or put money aside to replace the staff position that was lost, and for all of the tasks that Jordan and Dr. Commentary have taken on in the last 4 months. So there is some money put aside for additional salaries, and so we can have 3 positions again. We have increased money to restore a lot of the travel because of COVID conditions. We didn't travel much in the last 2 years. So we're putting some funding back in the budget for that. We're providing increases in the contractual expenses. And part of this is due to the fact that there are 2 new schools and that there have been more proposals reviewed and schools submitting to become charters. So that will increase operational expenses and contractual expenses in that area. So the other thing we did is, since we don't have vendors selected yet, a lot of that happens during the year, we put line items in the budget as placeholders. And so the comparison shows that in the past year who the vendors were, but we've just summarized all of that into one level for the FY22 budget, and we'll move it into the correct line item by vendor as that occurs during the year. We did not increase the commodity budget, but we did increase what we think the equipment budget will be. And again, that's because you might have a new staff position and may need some equipment for that position. We went ahead and changed the format of the federal budget. As Dr. Commentary had mentioned, we have to keep our funding by percentage. So only 90% or 90% has to go to the schools, 7% for technical assistance, and 3% for operational expenses. So we've built the budget into that line items so that we can track it easier, and that we don't have to wait until the federal government gives us time at quarter end, so that we can keep track of that as we go. And then the FY23 budget is due August 2nd, and we'll be working toward that as well. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions for Denise? If not, let's move on to the next item on the agenda, the 2021 Call for Quality Schools, Stage 1 completeness check findings. I think Dr. K, you said that Sarah is going to make this presentation.
Yes, can we go back to the financial reports for just 1 second before we transition to Sarah? We've lost Mr. B. Uh-oh. Denise, don't we need to take action on approving that budget?
Yes, I was assuming you would do that in the new business.
I'm not sure it's,
I don't see it on the agenda on either place, so this might be the best place to do it.
I think we need to go ahead and take action on that and approve the FY '22 budget as presented. And then I also wanted to point out to the board, and I think we've lost Mr. B here for a minute, that when we talked maybe a month or so ago, we talked about some of the additional work that Cornerstone has been doing for us in terms of the reviews of the claims on the CSP. And Mr. B asked about any additional funds. It is that review did go beyond what we anticipated. And so my recommendation would be that we take some of those additional funds that we have available in our general fund and use those funds as a special project to take care of paying for that particular project that we did with Denise or Cornerstone.
Dr. B, we don't hear you.
There we go. I'm sorry. Is that something you think the board needs to act on today?
I think we need to approve the FY '22 budget as it's been presented and shared in your packet. And then I just need probably verbal approval to use the funds appropriately as a special project to pay for the invoice for the review of the CSP claims.
Okay, so the budget that's in our packet is indeed the proposed budget for FY '22. I
Yes.
understood. Yeah, I'm sorry. I understood from Denise that was kind of a draft document that really hadn't been finalized yet. I may have misunderstood something.
It's draft only because the board hasn't approved it.
That's right.
Oh, I see. Okay. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the budget? If there are no questions, I will entertain a motion that we approve it.
So moved.
Thank you. A second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
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 Is Don still with us?
I am. I said aye.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I missed it. The motion passes and the budget is approved for 2022. If the board members have no objections, I'm fine with authorizing Dr. Carmen Chira to spend the money as she has described. It's something that we're going to have to do anyway. Any objections? Okay, are we ready to move on to the next item, Dr. K?
We're good now. Sarah,
Okay,
and I know you're ready to do your presentation, so we're glad to have you.
Hi, thank you, everyone. It's nice to see some of your faces again, and I know there are several whom I've not seen before, so it's nice to virtually meet you. My name is Sarah Rapay. I'm a managing director at SchoolWorks. SchoolWorks is an educational consulting firm based out of Western Mass. I'll tell you a little bit more about us, but I'm coming from South Carolina, and I'm happy to be with you all today. Our objectives for today are to provide an overview of the board's roles and responsibilities when it comes to charter applications, and then to also talk about the process that we are following. So I'm just going to dive right in, if you all don't mind. As I shared, SchoolWorks is an educational consulting group. Our mission is to advance all aspects of student learning and well-being by building the capacity of educators and educational institutions like yourselves to assess, plan for, and achieve student success. Our core values are based on accountability, based on evidence, collaboration and learning, diversity, equity, inclusion, and effective practices. So a lot of what we're doing with you all is really rooted in some of our core values, and we're happy to have this partnership to be able to really live out our core values in practice. We offer a range of services from the accountability side, which is working with you all, through the school developer supports, which is an area I manage. And then I'm the project manager for this. And you can see the highlighted section in yellow where it says authorizer supports and technical assistance. That is what we're doing here. So we're going to jump in and just review the legislative findings and the terminology, the language around what the purpose is of a charter school. I would just like to highlight a few of these. So one of them is to improve student learning by creating high quality schools with high standards for student performance. Another that I would like to highlight is to B, which is to close achievement gaps between high performing and low performing groups of school students. And then the last one I want to highlight is E, which is around encouraging the use of different high quality models of teaching, governing, scheduling, and other aspects of schooling which meet a variety of student needs. So this is really around the innovation aspect of it, which is something our team is really looking for this year. Now that we've grounded ourselves in the law, I also want to talk about the role of you all, the board. So it is your statutory obligation to oversee this process. And the mission is simply to authorize high quality charter schools. We just saw that in the former language, particularly schools designed to expand opportunities for underserved students consistent with the purposes of this chapter. So you are charged with approving high quality options and declining to approve weaker, inadequate charter applications. The past several years, we've done this work. This is our second year in a row, but you've utilized a third party to conduct evaluations. And this really ensures that you're free of bias and allows you to have oversight over the appropriate areas, and then also to be able to apply to give accountability in the areas that really is what you all are charged with. We have this graphic here at SchoolWorks that we show for the cycle of effective authorizing. And as you can see, it keeps going around and around and around because this process is never ending. So it starts with the authorization, and then it moves into contracting, oversight, intervention, and renewal. And it kind of just keeps going as you go through the renewal process over and over again. The two areas in particular that we're looking at is this first one around authorization. So you guys are utilizing us, SchoolWorks, to evaluate applications, really to ensure that only strong applicants are considered for approval. We do this work across the country. We've been doing it for, I'm not even sure how many years now, a lot of years. And so we have had the opportunity to see what's happening in a lot of states. And we also write charter applications. So we have that experience of what it's like to develop a charter application and know what it takes to develop a high quality charter application and then eventually submit it to an authorizer. The second piece is really around the contracting. So because you guys are using an outside party to conduct these reviews, it keeps you all free from bias. So you don't have an experience with the applicant at this point in terms of reviewing their application, understanding them, interviewing them, which are some of the things I'm going to talk about in a moment. But that really keeps you guys at the appropriate level apart from the applicant group, and allows you to do your job as a board of providing oversight and potentially needing to do intervention, doing renewal, doing all the other aspects of what a board should do. Any questions about the role, responsibilities? Lisa, anything you would like to add?
Great, sounds good.
Thank you. So as you all know, this application has various evaluation stages. We have stage 1, 2, and 3, and then the capacity interview. So stage 1 is the completeness check. Stage 2 is a threshold quality review. Stage 3 is the independent evaluation team review, and then we have capacity interviews. We just recently submitted or completed stage 1, which is a completeness check. This really is as simple as ensuring that the applicant submitted all the required documents in the correct format. So making sure they aligned whatever they submitted to the RFP. I check for things like making sure the narrative doesn't exceed 50 pages. That's your requirement, so it cannot go above that. And then the groups have 48 hours to remedy those issues and resubmit the proposals. You'll hear from me again at the various stages, but I'll just give you a quick overview. Stage 2 is a threshold quality review. This is what we're about to embark on. And we're really just trying to assess if any of the responses are substantially inadequate. So I'll say that again, substantially inadequate. So it's really just a first layer to make sure that what's in place kind of passes muster and allows us to move to the third stage of the review. Which is when we do the full evaluation, read every single section. We have a rating scale, which is defined within your RFP, and the applicant needs to meet the standards. But in addition to that, we're also looking for alignment with the mission, the budget. So if the budget talks about a certain role and position, a coach, for instance, we see that within the body of the application, and that person is a member of the team and embedded into their academic program. So you'll also hear from me at that stage, but I just wanted to give you a very high overview so you know the 3 different stages that are really part of the process. This timeline began in May. So we did stage 1, May 7th through June 4th. Dr. K recently informed the applicant groups that they are able to move to stage 2, and the team will do that between now and July 9th. We'll then start stage 3, which is July 12th through 8th, and then we'll be doing capacity interviews, ideally in person if we can, the week of August 9th. And then the final decision will be made on September 13th by you all. Super happy to share that MCSAB has made a concerted effort to recruit high quality applicants. So Dr. K and Jordan, I know, have been working really hard and diligently to distribute digital and hard copy recruitment packages. They increased the initial applicant pool from 12 last year to 17 this year. So that's an increase of 5 more applicant groups. And then the completed proposals increased from 3 to 5, so it nearly doubled. They also contracted with an outside vendor to provide technical training assistance to interested applicants. And I remember sharing a few weeks ago with Dr. K and Jordan that I was really happy to just see the look and feel of the applications. The appearance of them meeting their requirements, there was more of a professional feel to them. So I could tell just at a glance that the work that this outside provider has been doing has paid off. And then they're continuing with ongoing efforts to develop that applicant pipeline and maintain lines of communication with potential clients or applicants. So this will continue through out the 2022 application cycle. And then just to give a brief summary of the different schools. So 5 of the schools have moved on to stage 2, all 5 that submitted on time. So Columbus Leadership Academy and Jackson Leadership Academy, they're both run by the same organization. One will be in Columbus Municipal School District, and then one will be in Jackson Public Schools. Both of those are K-8. Another school, Instant Impact Global Prep, which will be in Natchez Adams School District, that is also a K-8. Relentless Prep Academy in Greenville Public School District, which is a K-5, and then the Resilience Academy of Technological Excellence, which is in North Boulevard Consolidated School District, and that is a K-5 as well. So all 5 of those are moving forward. We are in the process of reviewing them for that substantially inadequate terminology. The RFP does give specific ratings and information that we're following and we're assessing against. So eventually you will get a report from us. However, just one thing you'll know is that if they're not substantially inadequate, it will just simply be a statement like there were no areas that were substantially inadequate. So an applicant group will only not move forward if they get substantially inadequate ratings. So I will pause there. That's really all I have for you today. If you have questions for me, I would be happy to entertain them at this point.
Does anyone have any questions? I don't think there are any questions, Sarah.
Easy group.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, so much.
Yeah, thank you.
It's great to work with you again, and we appreciate you putting together this report. So looking forward to the next stage.
Yes, we are too. Thank you for the partnership.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, Dr. K, can we begin the committee reports?
Yes. Yeah.
First up is legislative committee.
Yes, and I believe Jean is going to bring that on behalf of the committee.
Yep, thank you. So I have a report on behalf of Kimberly's our chair. I see her iPad has joined, but maybe she's just listening in. So I'll give the report just a moment. So on behalf of the Legislative Committee, I'd like to report that a meeting was held on June 7th to discuss school model options relative to requests made by Republic Schools, Inc. to review the two options presented by council and provide Republic Schools with an opportunity for input. And after discussion and in consideration of feedback from Republic representatives and the Mississippi Charter School Authorizer Board staff and council, the committee voted to move forward with a legislative request during the 2021 session. I wonder if, would that be the 2022 session? I'm just questioning myself. Yeah, my
Yes.
notes. Okay, and then the next session, to allow for the merger and/or the transfer of assets between two charter schools operated by the same CMO. The committee respectfully requests the full board consider support and approval for this action during new business, and I can make a motion at that time. And that's the report.
Thank you. Is that all for the committee reports?
Yeah, does anybody have any question? Kimberly, I know you're here now. If you might want to make any comments in addition to what Gina shared, or if anybody has any questions relative to this request. This was an initial request brought forth by Republic Schools, and their request that they put forth is to have a legislative option available. So if they wanted to merge their two schools and there's not an option. So we put forth a couple of different options, A and B, that Holly put together. And of course, the committee looked at those options. Mark was on that committee as well. So does anybody have any questions specifically about this? It will go, with your approval, it would go on to the legislature this year.
My only question is that the transfer of assets that we're talking about that seems to be problematic, isn't that from federally appropriate? Isn't that from federal money that we're talking about?
That's all.
I'm sorry, was it not coming through?
No, that would be all assets. Anything purchased with state or federal dollars would be considered assets that they would need to transfer. And that's one of the challenges that they're running across. Holly, if you want to chime in there, if I'm saying anything incorrectly, correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, no, I understood that was what we were talking about. My initial understanding, though, was that the problem was from the CSP, the federal funds that had been used to purchase assets for a certain school, that those assets couldn't be transferred to another school because of that program. If that's not the case, then I don't have a question. If it is the case, then my question is, can the state pass a law that will fix that if it's federal money that we're talking about? Holly, are you there?
Yes, I'm going to talk some more with NDE. I'll tell you, federal money is not my strong suit, but they also get state money, and we can certainly transfer the assets with the state money, the assets that have been purchased with that state money. So I know that we can do that, but we may have to dig a little deeper with regard to that federal money. But we certainly won't do anything that's contrary to federal law.
Okay, and the legislature with a special bill in the 2022 session can resolve this for both, obviously for the state assets purchased with state money, but they can also resolve the assets purchased with federal money.
Well, we're certainly going to look into that to make sure that is an option. You know,
Okay,
obviously, if federal law says no, then that wouldn't be something that we would pursue.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious.
Yeah, I would say right now, just FYI, the school or the schools in question here, neither of them are CSP subgrant recipients. So anything that they would have purchased, not through us. Now, the CMO, I believe, had a CSP grant at one time, but I could not speak to what has or has not been purchased with CSP funds at either one of those schools. So that is one piece of that information. The other piece is around the assets. Right now, the law says that you cannot transfer assets between these schools, between charter schools. It has to go back to the district in which the school is located.
Okay, that question. That clears that up.
Jean, you were gonna say something?
Okay, well, I was just gonna add that the main issue is that the schools want to merge and the law doesn't allow them to merge. So if they're allowed to merge, this isn't really an issue because they'll all be assets will remain under the umbrella of the merged school.
Right.
So if they're not allowed to merge, then there's this whole asset challenge.
That's right.
As Dr. Kay just said, it would revert back to the district and they're expecting the children to merge anyway, so.
But the bottom line is that the legislature has to act so the schools can be allowed to merge under the law.
Well, it would be a request. Of course, we can't speak for what would happen with the legislature. And, you know, we don't know what their appetite for that kind of change would be. But that's our hope, that they would act on this particular request, and we'll draft that and put that together, you know, from our perspective and work with the legislature on it.
Okay, thank you. Is that all from the legislative committee?
That's all.
Okay, let's, we don't have, unless I'm mistaken, we don't have anyone that has signed up for public comment. So let's move on to the action items under new business. Dr. Garmenchira?
Thank you. Under item A, we have in your packet the consideration for the approval of Joel E. Smilo Prep's charter contract. You all approved that recently, and that is been updated to include the essential terms and the appropriate signatures and indicators for location of the school and so forth. And so we're just ready for the board to consider approval of that contract.
Has everyone had a chance to look at it? I think that the substance of the contract remains unchanged from before, correct?
That's correct.
Then I will consider a motion to approve the Joel Smilo Prep charter contract.
So moved.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is approved, the motion passes and the Joel E. Smilo Prep charter contract is approved. Next.
All right, item B is the consideration of the Cornerstone contract and consulting. Denise is in the waiting room so that you all can feel free to discuss that contract with her. This is just an annual update on the contract. I'm trying to find it in my packet here so I can answer any questions that you might have around that contract. But this would be an annual approval of our contract for fiscal and financial services through Cornerstone Consulting.
If there are no questions of Dr. Garmenchira or Denise, I will consider a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you. A second, please. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
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 I would note that that contract period begins July 1 of this year and runs through June 30 of 2022.
Okay, the motion carries and the Cornerstone Consulting contract renewal is approved. Next.
Thank you. This is item C, consider the approval of the Epicenter contract renewal. This too is an annual renewal of a contract. Epicenter holds our, it's kind of our housing for all of our documents. Schools make submissions. They submit their annual calendars in there. They submit quarterly financial reports. They submit a variety of different items into this instrument is what it is. It's a online system that will help us collect data and ensure timely submissions are made against the calendar of submissions on an annual basis. And they provide technical assistance, they provide a dashboard. We can track whether or not schools are submitting on time per the calendar requirements, or if they've been late in their submissions. Applicants also use this, and we use this as well for our pre-opening submissions and requirements for schools in pre-opening. So just a data management system, best way to describe it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the Epicenter contract renewal.
So moved.
moved.
Oops, sorry,
Thank you.
Jennifer.
I think I heard a second in there as well. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion passes and the Epicenter contract renewal is approved. Next.
Thank you. Item D, consider the approval of Sonic Wall renewal. This is our firewall that protects us here in the office. You know, we have limited protection because we just use our laptops and our little backup drives because we don't have any large network. And so this protects us, and we certainly need that protection. So this would be just the consideration to approve that renewal for the Sonic Wall.
If there are no questions, I'll consider a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Motion carries and the Sonic Wall renewal is approved.
Thank you.
Next.
Thank you. That's item E, the consideration of the legislative session request, and I will defer to Ms. Cook for that.
Thank you. On behalf of the Legislative Committee, I make a motion to direct the Executive Director to draft legislative language to be presented during the 2022 legislative session that would allow for the merger and/or the transfer of assets between two charter schools operated by the same CMO.
Does that motion also need to include at the same location?
Yeah,
I'm indifferent about whether they are at the same location or not, but I know in this case, the two schools are both on the same campus. And I'm not sure if that makes it easier for us to get a special bill passed. If they weren't on the same campus, we might have a little more trouble.
well, maybe we could take a look at what the legislative language looks like at that time, leave it as is for now.
Okay,
And
I think
that
that's
might
fine.
give us more flexibility.
That's fine. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
And the motion passes. The legislative session request is approved. Any other new business? There is no need for us to go into executive session today, so the next item of business is to set the date of the next meeting, which is proposed to be July 12th, 2021. Do I have a motion to set the date of the next meeting?
Mr. B, that calendar is already set and approved on an annual basis, so you don't really need a motion.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I guess I already knew that. I was just kind of whizzing through. We do need a motion to adjourn, if someone will offer that.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
We stand adjourned to see everybody on July 12th, and hopefully it will be an in-person meeting.
I hope so. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.